Julian is really good at math, and he's really smart.
I like Julian because he's helpful.
I like that he's fun and funny, and he's really smart. Sometimes he feels bad because he's different, and so he's trying to be the same, but he's kind of frustrated with himself.
All right, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes. You may make anything you want to, but you have to be able to tell me what shapes you're using. For example, Julian just said 2 spheres make a snowman. He's right. Julian was one of my brightest students. A very high reader, math, he just did math in his head. Pretty soon I started noticing he seemed to have a little bit trouble.
And we came to the conclusion that maybe he was having trouble because he couldn't hear. At the same time, I noticed his left eye started to drift, and I thought that's really odd for an eye to go and hearing to go at the same time. It turned out that he had adrenoleukodystrophy. His body is producing a protein that it can't break down. That protein builds up in the brain and it starts to eat away at the myelin, which is what makes the nerves connect to one another. His eyes work fine, his ears work fine, but his brain isn't transmitting those messages. There's not a cure, but if you can get your cells to start making the protein through a bone marrow transplant, then you can halt the disease. But because he was already symptomatic, he's not eligible for a bone marrow transplant.
There was probably 2 months in there where it was really uncertain, where you were, like, all right, this is gonna work out somehow or other, somebody will fix it, it won't be a big deal, and then all of a sudden it was.
His happened to start in the hearing part of the brain, and it will move until eventually it breaks down all of the myelin. They say 2 to 5 years. Some have seen it go in months.
When Julian was diagnosed, we struggled a lot with what to tell his sisters.
Casey, who's 10, may not know the name of his disease, but she knows that her brother couldn't hear and would not be able to see and would then not be able to walk and would get worse. Quinn, who is 4, just knows that her brother can't hear and now he can't see. I hope that she'll remember that he loved her and wanted to be with her and that he struggled, but he did the best he could, and we all did. We say, okay, our primary goal now is just his safety and his happiness through the rest of the year. We would much rather focus on his life than his disease.
They've heard and I heard people say, well, just take him home and love him. But in my opinion, he has stayed at a higher level longer because he did stay in school, because he did have normalcy.
It's where he wants to be. There's a tremendous leap of faith that he's got to make every single day. But he makes it most days because his friends take care of him in a way that really 7-year-olds shouldn't have to. But they do, and they do it without missing a beat.
We help him walk in because he can't see as well or hear. He can only see ahead of him, not to the sides. So I cover the door frame so he doesn't hit the door frame.
The bad days are when I can't stop crying. And the good days are when I forget the whole journey and just stay where I am in that moment. I never imagined that so many people would come forward and want to be part of this journey and want to help us navigate it.
We talk on the phone and cry together and yell together.
She has worked hard for him. She picked up sign language. She taught all the kids sign language.
I have a great support system here. My team is wonderful.
Some days when he's frustrated, he'll come in here and you can visibly see the change in his face, going from sadness to content and okay when he's just picking up a crayon and drawing.
Sometimes I tear up and I cry a little bit, but then when I see him having fun and laughing, the kids are with him and encouraging him and motivating him and just showing him the love that they've learned through him.
Because this is a genetic disease, you can find it if you look for the genes.
Because it only affects boys, that means if you think about just the state of Texas, about every 2 weeks you get a kid born with ALD.
If somebody found out this diagnosis when they had a newborn, they start doing yearly MRIs.
So we're trying to push legislature to make that part of the newborn screening, because we screen for things that show up in 1 in every 50,000 kids. So why not for something that shows up for 1 for every 15,000 where a cure exists for it? The kids in his class, they're going through this with him. You know, at some point in time in the, I don't know how distant future, they're gonna lose him. I guess I would just want them to see him smiling and to remember him as happy.
We play with each other and we swing at recess. Julian is very playful because it's how his life is.
When things happen, we can learn from it and become stronger and better people through it. With him in my class, I've gotten to see all these little windows into who these kids are going to become and the gifts that they have. I've seen a little boy who struggles so much academically become a protector. And I've seen other kids have just this compassion.
We do things to help him to feel like he is doing the things he's supposed to do.
I think that God put him and all those sweet kids in that one classroom so they could experience this together.
An amazing, sweet, brilliant little boy was in my class. I feel incredibly blessed to have known him.
He's having a hard time and friendship is what he needs.
One day when they're about 20 and they realize the compassion that's in them, the empathy, they will realize they're this way because they knew Julian.